Jerry Rice, unanimously considered the greatest receiver ever, right? He's got more yards at 22,895, more receiving touchdowns and more receptions than any player ever. Yet, the one man who came the closest to catching Rice in yards and receptions is Larry Fitzgerald, who played in 3 fewer seasons than Rice, but with the greatest handicap of all, a career with the Cardinals. Now, this is not a GOAT debate or some lame-ass hot take angle, because when you look at what Larry did, you can make the case that he's the most consistent and possibly the best receiver the NFL has ever seen. It's been a full 3 seasons since Larry Fitzgerald quietly walked away from the game of football. He retired with just about every Cardinals record after playing his entire 17-year career in Arizona, and he's undoubtedly gone down as the greatest Cardinal of all time. I might be willing to take it a step further. Yeah. Because when you consider all that he did with what he was given, he's in the conversation for best ever. I'm going to talk about his legendary career and make the case why he's still underrated and how fitting it is he entered the NFL in 2004, which was Jerry Rice's final season. Today, we're going balls deep into Larry the Cable Guy. Because a lot of Cards games weren't broadcast nationally, so you had to have cable to watch Larry. Hey, today's episode is sponsored by Football Head Coach, the ultimate management game. You can build your dream roster with your favorite players or players you despise because they torture your team through their excellence. Really your preference. Maybe their name rhymes with Schmatric Catacombs. I don't know. Football Head Coach, though, is licensed by the NFLPA, and this is my 2nd season playing it. Here's my new roster in Football Head Coach 25, and as you can see, I need some serious upgrades. Now, I can get better players by completing challenges or buying players from the transfer market or purchasing packs. Personally, I just like to purchase packs because I'm all about that instant gratification. And right away, I added quarterback Matthew Stafford, Mike Evans, Mr. Consistency, and my man Javonte Williams. I upgraded the entire roster, and I could barely believe that I got my hero Bo Nix as my QB3. And now I cannot be stopped when the game starts. Javonte scored my first touchdown just like I knew he would. Football Head Coach also features the Weekend League, where you can earn amazing rewards, qualify during the week, and compete for top prizes on the weekend. So download Football Head Coach and start building your dream roster with my link in the description or my QR code. It is free to play and download. Football Head Coach 25, when you're smarter than all the head coaches out there. Now at night, a child-sized Larry Fitzgerald laid in bed, tossing a football up towards the ceiling, catching it in his hands each time gravity brought it back down. Fitzgerald grew up in a sports-loving family. His father, Larry Fitzgerald Sr., was a sports writer, which provided young Larry with unique access to professional athletes and a close-up view of the world of football. Perhaps you've heard that. While growing up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, a young Larry Fitz was a ball boy for the Vikings, where he grew up at the hip of legends like Warren Moon, Chris Carter, and Randy Moss. Bizarrely, though, Fitzgerald didn't begin his high school career as a wide receiver. At the Academy of Holy Angels in Richfield, Minnesota, Fitz was a linebacker in the 5-3 scheme, and when the team was on offense, Larry was on the sideline. Finally, by the end of his high school career, he had shown that he could win just about any jump ball and outrace any defender. He was Randy Moss and Chris Carter all at once, and he was going to play in college. But not right away. Fitzgerald didn't meet the NCAA requirements to play as a freshman, so instead he spent his first year out of high school at Valley Forge Military Academy in Pennsylvania, where his work on the atomic bomb would later make him a great fit for the desert. or so I'm told. Eventually, Fitzgerald attended the University of Pittsburgh, where at first he wasn't sure if he had what it took to compete against players his own size and strength with similar gifts to his own. "I'm competing against men with beards, kids, and drinking problems," he told the Arizona Central in 2015. Wait, I have a beard, a kid, and a borderline drinking problem. Is Larry scared of me? Probably not. The young Larry called home to talk to his father, telling him he didn't know if he could make it at Pitt. His father didn't want to hear it, so he just hung up the phone on his son. And that lazy parenting turned out to be the right call. His sophomore season at Pitt in 2003 was nothing short of spectacular. He recorded 92 receptions for 1,672 yards and 22 TDs, earning him the Walter Camp Award and the Biletnikoff Award as the nation's top receiver. His dominance on the collegiate level made him a surefire top pick in the 2004 NFL Draft, where the Arizona Cardinals selected him with the 3rd overall pick. As a rookie, he'd be joining quarterback Josh McCown and another really underrated receiver, Anquan Boldin, and a 78-year-old Emmitt Smith chasing the record books. From the moment he stepped onto the NFL field, Fitzgerald's impact was undeniable. His combination of speed and size and incredible hands, God, he had nice hands, made him a nightmare for defenders. But beyond his physical gifts, it was his work ethic, football IQ, and humility that set him apart. Fitzgerald was never one to boast or seek the spotlight, which for a wide receiver is a flat-out miracle. A wide receiver without a constant need for attention is like finding an ice cream that gives you abs. Instead, he let his play do the talking. And oh brother, what a story his play told. In the 2004 season opener against the St. Louis Rams, Fitzgerald stepped onto the field for the first time as a professional. The game ended in a 17-10 loss for the Cardinals, but Fitzgerald's 4 receptions for 70 yards were a glimpse of the talent he possessed. Just a few weeks later, he caught his first career TD, a 24-yard pass from Josh McCown against the San Francisco 49ers, the first of many for Larry. At just 21 years and 110 days old, Fitzgerald became the youngest player in NFL history at the time to record at least 2 touchdown receptions in a single game. Although his record was eventually broken by Aaron Hernandez, and later by Mike Evans, it sure meant something at the time. And I think Cardinals fans may have gotten the inkling that this guy was going to be around for a long time, capping his rookie season with 59 receptions for 780 yards and 8 TDs, a stellar start that hinted at the incredible career ahead. Now, it's hard to appreciate Larry's rookie season now with guys like Puka Nacua, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and even Odell Beckham resetting rookie receiving records every single year. Hell, Larry's own teammate Anquan Boldin had 8 touchdowns and 1,377 yards as a rookie just a year prior to Larry arriving. Now, Puka had Stafford slinging it, Jefferson had Cousins, Chase with Burrow, OBJ with Manning. Anquan and Larry were working with Josh McCown, who never had a 3,000-yard passing season or threw for more than 11 touchdowns while a Cardinal. Now, Fitzgerald entered the 2005 season leading the NFL with 103 receptions for 1,409 yards, ranking him 4th in the league, and 10 TDs, which placed him among the top 5. His play earned him his first Pro Bowl selection, securing his status as one of the league's premier wide receivers. Teaming up with Anquan Boldin, Fitzgerald helped form one of the greatest receiving duos in the NFL. The pair became only the second tandem in league history to each record over 100 receptions and 1,400 yards in a single season, joining the ranks of Herman Moore and Brett Perryman of the Detroit Lions. And they did it with the combo of Matt Leinart and Kurt Warner throwing them the ball. Kurt Warner arrived in Arizona in 2005 and instantly benefited from the Boldin-Fitzgerald duo. Now, Warner was brought in to mentor rookie QB and future Ted Cruz endorser Matt Leinart. Warner would end up in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but had he not played with Bolden and Larry late in his career, when we all assumed he was washed and broken, I'm not sure Kurt even makes it into the Hall of Fame. In 2006 and 07, Larry was just as steady and electric, going for another 1,400 yards in 07 that earned him a spot on the first team All-Pro. 05, 06, 07, Larry still catching passes from the Leinart-Warner combo. He had Kurt Warner on his team for 3 full years before Kurt was named the full-time starter. It wasn't just his on-field exploits that made Fitzgerald special, though. Off the field, he was equally impressive. Known for his philanthropy, Fitzgerald was a finalist for the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year award multiple times for his charity work, particularly through the Larry Fitzgerald Foundation, which focuses on education and breast cancer awareness. Fitzgerald was the embodiment of what it means to be a professional athlete.
He was just a pro's pro, man. He never dropped the ball in practice. In the game, never dropped the ball.
He was durable, playing in 263 games, and reliable with 14 seasons of 1,000 or more receiving yards. He was pure excellence. Now, despite his immense talent, Fitzgerald spent much of his career playing with the revolving door of QBs. While some, like Kurt Warner and Carson Palmer, were able to maximize Fitzgerald's otherworldly talent and abilities, many others struggled to get the ball to Fitz on a regular basis. Between Warner's retirement in 2010 and Palmer's arrival in 2013, Fitzgerald played with a laundry list of quarterbacks, including the likes of Kevin Kolb, Derek Anderson, John Skelton, Ryan Lindley, and the 2018 duo of Josh Rosen and Sam Bradford. The one positive of playing with bad quarterbacks for your entire career is it can help you achieve the greatest stat in NFL history. Yes, of course, I am talking about the fact that Larry Fitzgerald has more career tackles, 37, than career drops as a wide receiver. You need a shitty quarterback throwing the ball to the other team to get those 37 tackles, while also being able to catch their shitty passes to secure yourself in NFL history and become part of the greatest folklore stat that's ever existed.
Have you ever seen him drop a pass?
No, not even in practice.
These years were obviously challenging as the lack of stability at the QB position often stalled the Cardinals' offense and limited Fitzgerald's opportunities to showcase his full potential. I really think that we'd talk about Larry in a different light if he had a different group of quarterbacks throwing him the ball. But when he did, for a brief period, have a Hall of Famer throwing him the rock, it was scary for defenses. Terrifying. Okay, maybe not terrifying. They were still the Cardinals, but enter that late career Kurt Warner. The 2008 season, which I did a whole video about, was a defining moment in Larry Fitz's career, marking not just individual brilliance, but also a pivotal year for the Arizona Cardinals as a team. Fitzgerald was damn near unstoppable, finishing the regular season with 96 receptions for 1,431 yards and a league-leading 12 TDs. Just look at some of these grabs. If Michelangelo were alive today, he would carve out Larry Fitzgerald. And for the first time in his career, the Cardinals finished with a winning record at 9-7, earning a spot in the playoffs. Even when the Cardinals get into the dance, it's not pretty. But in his playoff debut, Fitzgerald delivered a masterful performance, hauling in 6 receptions for 101 yards and a touchdown in a 30-24 victory over the Atlanta Falcons in the wildcard round. But it was in the divisional round against the Carolina Panthers where Fitzgerald truly shined, with 8 receptions for 166 yards in a commanding 33-13 win. During the NFC Championship game, Fitzgerald etched his name into history, tying an NFL record with 3 touchdown receptions in a playoff game. Remarkably, all 3 TDs came in the first half, making him the first player ever to achieve such a feat in a conference championship. The Cardinals' 32-25 victory over the Eagles secured their spot in the Super Bowl, a historic moment for the franchise and its star receiver as they proved to be superior birds. That postseason run by Larry may be the best by any player ever. And in Super Bowl 43, what did Fitz do? He once again demonstrated why he was one of the league's premier receivers. He caught 2 touchdown passes in this game, including a breathtaking 64-yard reception from Kurt Warner late in the fourth quarter, keeping the Cardinals alive, putting them ahead 23-20. The play electrified fans and momentarily placed Fitzgerald at the center of one of the greatest upsets in Super Bowl history. The lead was short-lived, of course, as the Pittsburgh Steelers scored a touchdown with just 35 seconds remaining, securing a 27-23 victory. Fitz, though, was the best receiver in that game, but it was Santonio Holmes that won MVP instead. Despite that heartbreaking loss, Fitzgerald's postseason performance was nothing short of legendary. Larry the Legend. He set single-season postseason records with 546 receiving yards, 30 receptions, and 7 touchdown receptions, surpassing the previous mark set by the great Jerry Rice during the 88-89 NFL playoffs. Fitzgerald's incredible run nearly delivered the Cardinals their first Super Bowl ring, and I think just about every non-Steelers fan was captivated and ultimately rooting for Arizona because of his feats of heroism in that game. Fitzgerald's remarkable 2008 season becomes even more impressive, more legendary, when we later learned that Fitzgerald had played the entire postseason with a broken left thumb and torn cartilage in the same hand. An injury he had been battling since November of 2008. Basically, he put up the greatest postseason a receiver's ever had with one working hand. In the 2009 wildcard round against the Green Bay Packers, Fitzgerald was once again clutch, catching 6 passes for 82 yards and 2 TDs in the third quarter alone, leading the Cardinals to a 51-45 shootout victory. It took the Cardinals 5 years to get back to the playoffs, and when they did in 2014, Ryan Lindley was starting at the quarterback position for the injured Carson Palmer, and even the second stringer Drew Stanton. But in 2015, Palmer was healthy, and in overtime against the Packers with a shot at the NFC title game on the line, Fitz needed to make a play. And then you have the Hail Larry.
Palmer extending the play.
Nobody there.
Crosses the field. Larry Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald is going to take it into Green Bay territory. Larry Fitzgerald inside the 30, the 20.
If he scores, it's over.
It's insane to the 4-yard line.
That was as close as Larry would get to a Lombardi in the back 9 of his career. He stuck around in the twilight as more of a role player, bound to quarterbacks like Josh Rosen and Sam Bradford in 2018 before ushering in the start of Kyler Murray's career for his final 2 NFL seasons. Kyler's great, don't get me wrong, but he's legally classified as a little person, so Fitzgerald has always been hamstrung in one way or another by his quarterback. In 2022, he officially retired with 11 Pro Bowls under his belt, an all-decade team, and a whole bunch of records. Allow me to list them. 8 seasons with 90-plus receptions, 7 TDs and 30 receptions in that 2008 postseason, 3 postseason games with 150 or more receiving yards, the fewest games needed to score 10 postseason receiving touchdowns, just 32 years of age at the time he caught his 1,000th pass, and he was the first wideout to record at least 150 catches against 3 different NFL franchises, the Seahawks, 49ers, and Rams. And if you were wondering, yeah, he owns just about every Cardinals franchise record there is. There's really no doubt in my mind that he's the most prolific, accomplished, and important Arizona Cardinal of all time. And I think his work with a lot of subpar QBs is proof of that. Fitz's 2011 season isn't the most impressive statistical year he had by raw numbers, but when you put it into context, he probably should have been a first-team All-Pro. That year, the Cardinals played 3 quarterbacks, John Skelton, Kevin Cobb, and Richard Bartle. Richard Bartle. None of them completed 60% of their passes or broke a passer rating at 81. Somehow, Larry still caught 80 passes for 1,411 yards and 8 touchdowns. He was the 4th leading receiver in the NFL despite being on the receiving end of the worst QB room in the league. The 3 guys in front of him were Calvin Johnson, Wes Welker, and Victor Cruz. And when it's all said and done, the 3 guys throwing them the football that season, probably Hall of Famers. The Cardinals actually went 8-8 in 2011, and I think that's a testament to the effect he had on that team. Now, you can say that Jerry Rice or Randy Moss, who Fitzgerald watched as a child, are the best receivers of all time. I get that. The numbers are hard to argue. Rice, in particular, was blessed with a steady hand at QB. His signal callers, Joe Montana, then Steve Young, and Rich Gannon, who won league MVP 5 times while Rice was on the other end of their passes. Obviously, 2 of them made it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. If you gave Larry Fitzgerald that kind of help, I think he ends up with a lot more than 121 touchdown passes, and I think he easily breaks 20,000 receiving yards in his career, which only Jerry Rice has done. 121 touchdowns, by the way, is 13th best all time and 6th among wide receivers. He's also got 1,432 receptions, just 117 behind Jerry Rice, despite playing in those 3 fewer seasons. So why isn't Larry regarded as the 2nd best wide receiver of all time, or at least on the wide receiver Mount Rushmore? Gil Brandt, the great Cowboys executive, listed Fitz as the 7th best receiver ever. Too low, way too low in my mind. The largely irrelevant stretches the team had in Arizona are a huge factor. But Larry's loyalty to Arizona is rare and very cool. He could have left a few times, but he stayed with the team that gave him a chance in the league. Not even Jerry Rice could do that. And in an era where wide receivers were always big talkers, the most eccentric self-promoters, and the ultimate showman, he didn't bring much attention to himself. I guess that was my job today, and I hope I didn't fuck it up for you, Larry, because you're a GD legend. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports. Please subscribe here on the YouTubes. The YouTubes are free, but you gotta subscribe. And click that notification button so you know when I do more football videos. Who should we do next? Chad Pennington? Should we do Chad Pennington?